If you're like me, and you got no life and there's nowhere to go, then tune in to the Animation Truman Show. You'll be glad you did.
And good morning, friends. Okay, let's get right into it today. It's been a good weekend of smacking through a good bit of Futurama stuff. And we are going to continue basically getting back to Salt and Light today, I expect. But there is a little bit I wanted to discuss about workflow. I've been playing around in Blender with, well, actually, let me say this first. After playing around a bit with, ink and paint in Krita here, I would just say, let's just leave that aside for the moment and say that in the big scheme of things, Krita definitely comes in a distant third in terms of performance. And so it looks like really for, going forward, Krita is going to be relegated up to the legacy shots in Salt and Light and painting for the most part. Tahoma definitely wins the battle as far as performance goes and working with audio in place. And good morning, Maria. So that's that. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit here is the one thing I started working on a little while ago is I'm really thinking about for the animator who is somebody who either is pretty confident in their drawing, I guess, or who wants to work quickly. Let's put it that way. I kind of worked this out where, as one example of the kind of thing I'm kind of starting to talk about here, is in Blender, by making some amendments to the brush settings, the biggie being here in the strength curve. What this means is that if I press softly, the line is actually fairly transparent, and then if I press a little harder, boom, it becomes really opaque really quickly. So I find that to be quite useful because the most expensive thing in terms of time cost in animation, as far as I've ever been able to tell, is ink and paint. Now this doesn't help with paint, but as far as inking goes, what it lets me do is I can sketch like this, and then when I like what I see, I can just press a little harder and boom, instantly have a line. Now you could argue about the fact that the lines I'm drawing right now aren't actually that smooth. Okay, so that's a whole nother thing you'd probably want to look at or talk about, but I like the idea of being able to sketch, and then we've basically gone straight from sketching to final ink, theoretically. In Blender, the key to it, of course, is the curve on the brush. The secondary element would be two grease pencil modifiers. One changes the tint, which turns my blue lines to black, and the second one is called the opacity modifier, which is quite useful in that, based on the strength of the strokes, you can go ahead and basically dial the lighter strokes out. Very useful. Now, it's only useful at this point, as far as I can see, if you're going to render the ink lines before you do paint. And the reason for that is that if you go directly to well, let me go ahead and finish this line like that, just to close it up. And maybe just for completeness, we'll erase that little hiccup there. The flaw in this is the same thing you see in Krita, which is if I go to color this, we'll kind of pick a somewhat appropriate Bender color. what I believe we're about to see, not sure why that's coloring black. Oh, because of the tint. Okay, so the tint modifier gives us a, okay, yeah, so what I really want to do here, let me see if I put this on a different layer. Let's put that on the fill layer. So basically, the problem with this, in terms of jumping right to paint, is that all those scribble lines are still there. So those are going to interfere with the fill operations. I'm quite sure there's a solution out there, and the solution would be to have a grease pencil, either a modifier or a, well, actually, you know what? Come to think of it, I might have just hit upon the solution, which would be to apply these two modifiers, actually. If you apply them, can be applied in Paint, Sculptor, Edit mode. Okay, so I guess you have to go to Object mode. Let's apply that. Paint, Sculptor, Edit mode. Okay, am I not in? Okay, there. So if you apply these, there's no going back, obviously, but that probably actually solves the problem I was about to highlight, which is that you don't really have the ability to, you know, not have those lines in there. But I actually, as I say, I might have just solved that. Let's find out. I'm on a separate layer. And so the only downside, of course, the only downside to this approach would be, okay, that's unfortunate. Even if you apply the modifier, the point data is still there. Okay, so what that means is that all we've done is clamp those points to being completely transparent, but they're still there. So what we need is some sort of grease pencil script or modifier that would take all points that are below a certain threshold of strength and just delete them entirely. If we have that, and I'm pretty sure it exists, it seems to me at some point I saw something like that somewhere. So if that is out there, that would solve that problem. And so then you'd actually have clean ink lines, and you could get on with the business of doing paint. And so it just basically accelerates the process of going straight from, you know, we're trying to stay in that creative zone where we're drawing and sketching and just seeing things come to life and be able to go right to what the finished work would look like. Now, basically, that's pretty much already there in Tahoma, if the truth be known. Because for me, if I sketch with my, I don't want to be in preview mode, then what I do is I just hit the 3 key here, which jumps to my ink, and then I can draw the ink, and then hit the 1 key and be back to sketching. So it's basically the same thing. If I hit the eraser with selective turned on, then I can get rid of the ink lines that way. And the only downside to that really is that you do have to be a little bit careful about making sure that the lines are both closed and also fully cover up the sketch lines. Basically, that works pretty well because of the way I have the brushes set up. So that's that. So anyway, yeah, it's all about trying to keep things fluid, and by keeping them fluid, I was able to just grab a frame here and get it inked and painted very, very, very quickly. Just boom, 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 done. So that's that. And with that, I'm going to switch projects because it is time to jump back to Salt and Light and boom. Do we want to, the current scene has been modified. Yeah, we'll just save it. Okay. So now we have to basically kill a few things on the other screens and open up Vegas because I need to look at the video edit and kind of see where we're at in terms of the show. So Ba-bum, ba-bum, bum, bum. Okay. Webisodes. There we go. So now we're jumping away from what we've been doing in Futurama, which is essentially, well, it's really 24 frame per second animation, although most of it's on 2s, which would be 12. Back to Salt and Light, which is essentially all the way around 8 frame per second animation. So I'm going to actually hit Control X and then Control Shift F to just ripple edit my whole timeline. And then what I'm looking at here is the show. This is the final webisode in episode 1. So once this final webisode is done, then we will have a full 24-minute episode, and I will of course have to combine them all together into a single episode, but we're pretty much ready to release one full episode and then move on to episode 2, which I assume will also be broken into probably 5 pieces. Okay, little anatomical thing there. Hopefully in this section of the show, I don't know actually, but I'm hoping that more of the shots are going to turn out to be Tahoma shots. But we don't know yet. We just have to look at them one by one. So all I'm looking at now is I'm just looking at the characterization and the animation and asking myself, does it basically look okay? Are we in good shape? So far, I've seen a couple little things, like with the guard's hand looked pretty stupid. That's a pretty nice painting. Golok's anatomy's slightly questionable there on his hand, but I think frankly, the sound effects are going to carry the day. Now that's, I'm sure, a Krita shot, and that's where I would like to get some more tweens in there. She's just moving too choppily. Let's jump in and do that right now. That's going to be shot number 350. I would bet you any amount of money that's a Krita shot. Let's find out. Especially because if it was a... We need to go to Anime, Salt and Light Scenes. Especially because if it was a Tahoma shot, I seriously doubt the animation would be that choppy. And it looks to me like it might actually be a Tahoma shot. Okay. That's good news. Good news, everyone. Let's find out. Scenes. What did I say? 350? Yep, there we go. 350. Okay, we'll go ahead and crop that to the camera. Take a look at what we got here. Yeah, okay. So there you go. We need a tween there. So I'm thinking step 1 is let's turn off the background in the preview. And step 2 is going to be to actually just hit the B key and start drawing. Now the problem here is that this palette is not set up correctly per the ink and paint methodology. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this brush right here to be a raster brush, and I'm hoping the settings here are correct. Well, see, the problem with what I'm doing though, I'm asking for trouble here, because what if that color is actually being used in the level? It looks like it's not. Okay, so that's good news. Yeah, okay, we're good. So let's just see. Okay, so there's my ink line. And is that going to be a little too fat? Probably. And also, by the way, oh, silly me. Okay, that explains a lot. This is a standard raster level. Duh. Okay. Didn't realize what I was doing there. So, okay, we'll just continue working the same. Well, no, we can't work the same way. We can't do it. You know why? Because we don't have the ability to do selective erasing, which means I won't be able to erase the pencil lines. All right, we'll keep charging forward here. Let's try a different approach. We've got a. Okay, so we've got a. We've got a plastic tool thing here. But when I look at the show, I don't remember seeing that. Maybe I did and didn't think about it. Not at all. So 350. And she never puts her hands up, so maybe we've got. Are there levels that are muted here? This actually makes me wonder if I'm missing something and this is a Krita shot. I better double check. So now I'm completely boring everyone. But, you know, that's the Animation Truman Show for you. Just do whatever you gotta do. I'm going to just look at my numbers here. 350. What happens if we just put in 350? Huh. That is weird. Well, it was bound to happen. Bound to happen. Hey, Chris K. Well, the pragmatic solution is actually to insert a new level and just match the colors and forge ahead. There we go. That's what we'll do. The only problem with that, let's do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and get that going, and then I'm going to move this actually over into here. Now, I think that will work. Yes, that works. So, okay, so now I can just go ahead with a smart raster level, and yeah, it even looks like the we can use the skins, so that's useful too. All right, I'm gonna make my pencil a little bit darker, and then let's just get to it here. So what's going on, Chris K? I think it's been a bit of a while since we've seen you here. So we'll just go like that. We'll say, was this just a straight tween really? So I'm just gonna get the basic shapes popped in there, and then we'll turn the skins off so I can sort of get the characterization right. Okay, so again, straight tween, so I'm just going to throw these shapes in there and we'll see what happens. It might turn out I'm a little off, that's okay. Or it might not. Okay, so now let's turn the skins off, since as you guys know, I'm not a huge skins fan. The Bindu's too high. So I'm going to follow the methodology that I sort of described there at the beginning, which is to just sketch until I'm happy with what I see and then throw in the ink like immediately. We can get away with murder here a little bit on the characterization because it is a one frame tween, so this is going to go by so fast you're really not, if it's a little flawed, you're not going to see it. But at the same time, why not do our best, right? It does bug me though that the whole thing with her hands coming up seems to be missing from the shot, and yet I'm not finding, at least not quickly, not finding a Krita shot. So a little weird, but at the same time, I don't know, man. I'm enjoying just working out a rapid workflow, and it almost was better to just redo the thing than to sweat it. Eye looks just a slight bit big, and because of the way I did the tweening aspect, a little bit out of alignment as well. Okay, hitting the 3 key. So as you can see, this is really where I'm trying to get to. Not necessarily trying to animate as fast as I can think, but pretty much. You know, that's actually my goal. Just keep the whole process super fluid and fun. Now, one thing I need to be careful of here is, okay, it looks like sizing wise, this whole shot might actually be full HD, as a matter of fact. Yeah, let's get that in there. Alright, now I want to double check. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, cool. Again, one frame tween. This is going to go by pretty fast. That looks pretty good. It looks like Tianara. Tianara in a very bad attitude. Okay, so now I just go back to pencil test, hit the E key, and lasso the whole darn thing. And now, in this case, actually, I think in this case, I'm going to make a duplicate color for the shadow. Now what I need to do is move this actually over here and do that so that I can see both layers at the same time. That way I can match up the colors. So the flesh tone here should be that color, R key. The green, we might as well make that the green of her eyes. So we'll go boom. This is going to be the headdress. We'll call that the headdress shadow color. And then let's add a hair color and a bindu color, and I think that'll do it. So now we can kill that, push this down here, and we'll go ahead and leave it in a separate level for the moment, just because I may wind up, well actually I definitely will wind up needing to put more drawings down here, so we might as well just leave them separate for now. Okay, so another thing I tend to do is give myself about half a second of leader. So I'm going to hit fill empty cells to just fill that area in, move this up. It really doesn't matter where the keyframe is that resizes the background, because whatever the first keyframe is will determine the scaling and position of all the frames that come before the keyframe anyway. Okay, so that's that. Alright, so now we can go in and Control Shift F. This is where, one thing I definitely appreciate compared to say, Blender, is being able to use the fill check tool. Okay, so now one thing I'm going to do here real quick is just draw some ink lines here so that I can then fill in the whites of her eyes. And now that I can see what I'm doing, then I'll go ahead and change the color. Da 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 da. And I guess we can use the ink color for the pupils. Bindu, boom. Skin, boom. Hair, double boom. Okay, and then what I said was we were going to do something with the shadows. So I'll just do this with lines. We'll do it sort of the anime way. And by the way, that needs to be filled in as well. Okay, so looks like probably just B key. So normally I don't do shadows this way, but in this case, since it's so straightforward, the only caveat being we're still going to need a shadow layer for her face. And it looks like I actually have a double layer of shadows anyway on her garment. So it seems to me I must have this surely was done originally in Krita. I'm not sure why I jumped to Homa, and I'm gonna get rid of the yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of that plastic tool. I don't know what I was thinking there. So then it jumps to Golek. So we're packing multiple shots into one here. Let's go back to the show and just make sure that this is gonna work. So she, yep, then Golek interacts, and then she says essentially something like, these chains are outrageous, kind of thing. And that is likewise missing, as well as the final reaction from Golek. So a little weird what we've got missing here, but let's just go ahead and create a vector level. And we might as well start it here and hit the B key. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create auto-filled groups. And then this layer is going to be turned down. Usually it's going to be about 12%. And one thing we want to do is make sure that this is clicked, enable column color filter and transparency for rendering. And now what we can do is just draw these filled shapes. I'm just going to do a couple of these and then check something though, because I am concerned because of the ink work I was doing in Futurama. These ink lines actually do have a well, actually they've got a size of 0 to 2. It's actually supposed to be 1 to 1, so it looks like the settings are based on the project, you know, not the application. If that doesn't make any sense, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. But my point is, when this renders, are we going to see the lines? It looks like we're not, so that's good. Okay, cool. So we're in good shape. Okay, so here, looking at what just happened, we better save our work. And also I wanted to see if there's, yes, there is a little shadow underneath. So let's do this. We'll go like that, and then let this turn into an underneath shadow. And she does, in fact, have a small shadow under her nose. Okay. All right. Yep, and then let's lighten the ink lines. They're just a little bit dark. That feels probably about right. Yep, there we go. Okay, so now let's look at the output settings. Yes, Okay, so the output settings on this shot are not set. What that tells me is this shot was done in Krita and completed and rendered, and then I brought it into Homa to do some stuff with the plastic tool, which I never finished or saw through. And so as a result, we do seem to be having an orphaned shot. I'm going to look one more time here just to do my due diligence, because this really doesn't happen very often where something just comes up missing. Oh, there it is. Doggone it. Well, that's okay. Okay, so it is a Krita shot. What did I think I must have been looking in the scenes folder in the Futurama project. That must be what I just did wrong. So that was stupid. Okay, so well, actually, it would make more sense to just come back here, because the tweening on this is going to be pretty easy. Definitely. Like stupidly easy. Especially because it looks like the characters are flattened into their own layer. Okay. So yeah, this is the part that's pretty awful. Why did I not wait a little longer though? This definitely bugs me. This should be downstream a little further. Okay, and then that's her mouth. That should be there. Okay, so I mean, you guys know me, I'm a bit of a pragmatist, and I'm gonna go ahead and set this up proper. Well, no, I can't. If I set this up properly, then I will have to save and render it, so that becomes pointless. So we're gonna call this one a wash, and I'm sure we're gonna be coming back to Tahoma soon enough. But for now, we might as well just finish this here. Okay, so this is going to have the wrong render settings. I am quite sure. This is shot number 350. And this should be 50 here. And this should be 350 period. And that's that. So we'll just render it and take a peek. Make sure we're all on the same page here in the show. And as you can see, the shot is cropped. I think the shot was created in full HD. And then with cropping in mind, because our final output is broadcast HD. So, okay. So what we need is that tween. All right, so let's just get to it. Boom, 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 boom. A few different ways we could do this. It's a snap, so I will say that this is going to look like a kludge because it's not going to look very good, probably. But part of the reason, by the way, is the fact that her mouth is going to be in the wrong place. So let's go back here, grab the mouth layer. We might as well just. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just. Okay, work that range. Now what I'm going to do is do the opposite. I'm going to take these cells, move them back one, and then what I'm going to do is actually hit Control, make a duplicate here, so that this layer can be, so that I can essentially do the opposite. I'm going to move her down like that, and then pop her skull back up, and I expect. Okay, nope, we got too big of a jump there, the G thing going on. So, but the idea is okay. So we'll just, this is one of those things where somebody might look at this and go, what? What are you talking about? You're not going to make that work. Oh, you'll be surprised. We will make it work. But yeah, that jump there, because she moved, I'm going to do something radical here. I'm going to actually use the old rotate mode. So you can see we seem to have quite a crazy change in characterization, but again, I don't think it's going to matter because let's just see. I mean, like I said, this is one of those things that's a little embarrassing because it's like probably looks ridiculous. But now what I'm going to say is, what if we take these out? Rest, boom. So it just snaps, snaps, snaps. Okay, so if we're going to do that, I think that's okay. But now what I want to do is do a little bit of massaging here on her characterization. So, hello, I'm hitting the A key and nothing seems to be, oh, I see why. It's because the size is like way too big. Okay, I see a comment just came in. Amar. In the last week of the end of our first collaboration project, still 1.5 shot to complete, and we will be done with the first month. Oh, very good. Quite the experience. I think the results will be great based on the circumstances. Everyone seems to be agreeing. So, cool. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And having nothing but fun. Okay, and now I'm actually going to do a this could come down a little bit. Zuko keeps saying, knock it off. He's quoting me. Okay, and now I'm thinking we're going to have a blink right here. So G key, sample that color. We'll just take that out. And then sample that. Uh-oh. Wrong brush there, Jack. And I don't want the smoothing turned on, so boom, boom, boom. Now, what I learned working on Futurama all weekend has basically been quite encouraging. What I learned is that, number one, if I put my mind to doing 12 frame per second generally, or animation, more in keeping with what one expects from typical Western broadcast cartoons. I figured, I learned that I can do it. Which is nice. Yep, boom, 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 boom. Okay, I want to see her. I want to see the squint in her eyes a little more extreme. Yeah. So here we don't have it at all. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and give myself 2 more frames. The other thing I've actually learned is that I dislike, the grunt work of this a lot less than I thought I would. Once I get into it and really just get lost in the process, I actually, I know that sounds kind of crazy and stupid, but yeah, I dislike it a lot less than I thought I would. And maybe that's because the results, I think, look okay, so it's not kind of a downer, right? Yeah, look at that. That's 8 frame per second animation the way it ought to be. I like that. Save my work. Okay, by the time we're done, before the end of the year, we'll all be pros at it. Where's that at, Amar? If I want to look at what, I assume the work in progress is on the Discord, maybe? If it is, I'd love to, jump over there, right now and see what you guys are doing. Discord. I'll go to my channel. So where do I find that? Help me out, my friend. Help me out. Okay. All right. So now, Golik, has lip sync, and then she's going, "Curse you, you villain." Alright, so here, I want to get from here to here. I'm going to turn off the background and see how the skins might help me. I add one shot to your Discord. Okay. So I'm looking at my Discord. Ah, here we go. Okay, very good. The old walk cycle thing. One of the completed shots from the Animate or Bust monthly project collaboration on the Darren T server. I'm going to pop that open to full screen. So how many people are involved with this? Boom. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, on Darren's OT animations folder. Okay, cool. But yeah, I saw Amar posted it on my server as a work in progress. Okay, so yeah, I would say if you want my opinion, you know, not a bad start. Deal with the feet slipping because I mean it's pretty obvious that it's animated and then you're making the feet move over top of something that's already animated. You can do that. It can work. One thing I noticed, well, you're probably doing frame by frame animation, I would guess, in OpenTunes. So you might find, okay, so 4 people. You might find that if you go into the schematic, let me pull up something here that will show you what I'm talking about. Let me look at that again. Hang on a second. Now you may not care and you may not want my opinion, but if you know, we're all trying to learn, right? If the goal is to move towards something that you can say, okay, here we go. This is we're creating something that we can, you know, that competes well. I don't know how else to put it. That competes well. Then the main issue, you can have a stylized walk cycle. You can have something simple like Family Guy. So the thing that seems to be missing to me is mainly the sliding part. And see, the good thing about this is you can fix that characterization if you wanted to. You know, you could put, you know, Peter Griffin's head on this character and everything would work. But what I was going to say is you might want to look at, I can't tell looking at the animation what the what's the frame rate of the actual whole thing. Is that at 24 or is it something else? Well, it's not a time crunch though. That's what I'm showing you right now. It's not a time crunch. Fixing that's going to take you like 5 seconds because the way to fix that probably is to take what you did with the animate tool. I'm looking for something. Well, okay, I'm going to do it this way. New scene. All right. So, and I'll do a vector level. And I want to just see what I've got here. Okay. So, animate tool, there it is. And then I'm going to go here and there it is. Okay. Let me see what my frame rate is here. Okay, it's going at 24 frames a second. Okay, so this is what I would do. You could probably improve this and make it more in sync with the feet. It's certainly worth a try. And what you do, and you may already know this, but I'll show you anyway because it ain't a time crunch, is you just go into the schematic and change the interpolation of the tweening to probably, in your case there, probably on 3s. Probably on 3s. So it's moving in the X and the Y, obviously. So if I grab the X and the Y and I change the interpolation to, change the step. If I change the step to 3s, then the movement of that, the actual animation is going to be more in keeping with the pace of the feet moving. So it's going to jerk a little bit between the steps. So in 1 second, you could test that. You could test that really, really, really fast. And so that's not a time crunch. And if it's not a time crunch, then obviously that's something that might be looked at. Okay, so that's my 2 cents, just trying to help. Let's go on here. Okay, well, we have the same problem here to a degree in the other direction, which is that this is too choppy. So, let's go ahead and we'll try doing it the liquefy way. And I said I was going to turn on the skins. Yes, okay. So this, if I make this big enough and I don't corrupt the bottom, I probably can snap this into place pretty easily. Yeah. Okay, that's way smoother. Just that one change, way smoother. And so 4 days to get everything done and the final animation published. Well, I know the feeling, man. There's not much I do here. It doesn't have to be done in a couple hours. That was another thing that surprised me about Futurama, because it is 12 frames per second for the most part animation. I was really surprised to find that my actual pace of work, if you will, came out real similar. Whoops, that's the wrong layer there, dude. Came out real similar to what I've seen on Salt and Light. Which is to say, I can get 5 to 10 seconds of animation done in a couple hours, at least to the pencil test stage where it's pretty much final, you know, like you just have to ink and paint it. I was really surprised. I did not think it would be quite that favorable. Okay, so this is a little sucky too. Why not just go, I'm going to do this a little different way. I'm going to go to the character layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the way I've been doing the frame by frame animation, which is I'm going to just go ahead and smack the keys in there. Okay, Krita's being a little stupid because it wants to grab the whole column. And now what I'm going to do is just use the free transform. Wait a second. My bad. Made a mistake. Kill that. Yes, what I want to do is, I guess I can just do it this way. Hello, dude, you need to be on the right layer. Alright? I'm going to turn off the character for a moment so that I can turn on the skins and see where this is going. To my own surprise, I've been finding myself using the skins quite a bit more lately. But, yeah, she's going to get from here to here. There we go. I'll bet you that whole animation is going to look quite a bit smoother now. Let's find out. Okay, I don't like the way they pop up there, so I'm going to go here, copy that, copy that. It could be that 3 frames is too much. We'll see. Yeah, it's a little slow. So this is too gradual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, we're going from there. I'm going to take this key out. Yeah, better. Yep, there we go. So you're saying you can do 240 drawings for the pencil test or 10 seconds of animation done in a day. Well, pretty close. I mean, what I did yesterday was, this was done. I mean, I'll just show you, and you can make your own judgment. This whole sequence is 18 seconds. Okay, And in terms of 12 frames per second animation that can go ahead and be inked, I would say we're pretty much there. You got to paint the backgrounds. I mean, there's a lot more to do than just ink and paint, right? But he's moving okay. This is pretty close to final, I would say. Most of the stuff going on with Bender, most of this stuff here, pretty close. Zoidberg. So, yeah, so the question is, how long did it take to do 18 seconds of stuff that's ready to ink and paint? And I'm going to say it was about... I'm going to be liberal and say 6 hours. I don't remember, actually. There was basically, most of the drawing was done in 2 sessions, but not all of it. So it's hard to measure exactly. But I would say about 6 hours to do all that. So, and I don't know if that's fast or slow. I mean, I don't really have anybody to compare with, but all I have is my own judgment of what I'm happy with. And for me, it's like the pace feels pretty good to me. It is not laborious. It probably would be if I was having a harder time being on character. So because see, I spent the first day just poking around at doodling the characters and getting a feel for, do I know these characters well enough in my visual brain that I can just draw them? I can have a reference picture up on the screen, but basically, can I draw them accurately without having to redraw over and over and over again? And what I'm finding is basically that seems to be the case. So now it doesn't become a drawing problem, it's a storytelling problem, right? And I won't say that I've done the most amazing job of that either. There's some things about the way Bender, that whole bit I did with Bender was very much made up on the fly, and I don't know that it's the best work I've ever done, okay? But everything with the professor is looking good. The lip sync's going to take some time, obviously. So that whole sequence there with Bender was very much a brainstorm, where I'm just like, okay, it'd be cool if his arms stretched. And so then I just had to work it out by doing the well, put it this way, that whole thing with Bender was originally going to be one shot, and it's effectively turned into 5 shots. So there's things like that that's happening, and that's part of the fun of it for me. Is what I'm finding is just letting because a lot of creativity goes into the script, right? What Aaron said, yeah, it's we're even close. I know that is true. I don't really know what to say to that. I mean, I know that I am fast. I always have been. But at the same time, somebody's going to come along and say, well, yeah, you're fast, but, I can criticize this and that and the other, and they won't be lying. They won't be wrong. There's definitely things you can criticize. So there's things you can criticize about this shot I'm working on here. So at the end of the day, you sort of have to decide for yourself what your standards are. What is clear is that my standards are rising. I'm holding myself to a higher standard in terms of animation, storytelling, and characterization especially than I used to. It's actually the most discouraging thing about going back and fixing these shots in Credo where, when I realized that at an earlier time I was quite a bit, I don't think I was that much less skilled, but I think I was definitely a lot more sloppy. Because, you're just in a hurry to see it move and, see if it's going to work, I mean, at least maybe other people don't struggle with that, but for me, that's the thing. I tend to find myself wanting to take shortcuts and hurry and skip steps because I want to see if it's going to work. And what I've learned, especially lately because I've been more disciplined, is that is a fool's errand. That's stupid. The thing you should be saying to yourself is, there's no question it's going to work because I will make it work. I will make it good. You have to start with the paradigm. That's kind of what I was talking about, your walk cycle there on the Discord, is your mental paradigm is, this is going to be excellent. This is going to be essentially no different than the walk cycle that I see happening on, Futurama or, Family Guy or whatever your favorite show might be. If you want to go real simple, hey, South Park. And I think to me it merits discussion, because here's why. Here's why it's worth talking about. Is it the question I've asked myself a million times? Okay, let me look at the comments here. 60 drawings done in a day, and if so, are they individual drawings? Well, see, that's the thing. I'm increasingly doing frame by frame animation. Almost everything in this, other than the initial Farnsworth walking across the screen, away from the elevator. Other than that, it's almost all frame by frame. So you can do the math here. Well, let's look right here. This answers your question. There you go. Right there for all to see. There's no lying. That is 86 drawings, 86 individual drawings. Some of them save a little bit of time by cutting and pasting elements, but yeah, 86 individual drawings. Now, different drawings, really 1, 2, 3, and of course those guys are combined, 4, 5, because that's a different pose of the same guy, 6, 7 if you count Fry getting in that shot. All this stuff with Bender's arm is individual drawings, so just add 10 probably. Everything with Zoidberg is frame by frame, other than the cut and paste right there, but all the stuff with his little mouth thing. So, I mean, you're probably talking about somewhere between 20 and 30 drawings, I guess. I don't know. So, the point that I was trying to get at here is this. The question you got to ask yourself, that I ask myself all the time, is it actually harder or more time consuming to do it well, absolutely professional quality, top shelf, competitive? Is that actually harder or more time consuming than to do it poorly and to make amateurish mistakes? That's the question I would be asking myself. Is it actually harder to do it well? Or does it turn out that the difference between doing it well and doing it amateurish, because remember, with animation, everybody tends to make the same mistakes. Think about it. You know this. When people start animating, they're enamored with the idea of moving things across the screen, and so then they do a walk cycle. And what is the walk cycle? Well, it slides across the screen and the feet are sliding all over the place. That's totally normal. So the question I ask myself is, well, why is that? Why do people always make the same mistakes at the beginning, and they always have to unlearn them? And then the question you should ask yourself is, if you didn't make that mistake, would the process actually take any longer? Would it actually be any more difficult? Or was knowledge actually the problem? I would say usually it's a function of knowledge plus patience. Or you could say faith, in the sense that you're confident that you're going to get it. You're confident it's going to be good. And so there's no doubt in your mind. You're committed to, by gum, we're going to get this figured out. And then the thing that turns out to make the difference is mostly knowledge. So if you look at OpenTunes or Tahoma, and you knew from experience, because you have to build up your catalog of experience, you have to build up your lexicon of techniques, right? If you knew that going into the schematic and changing the step to 2 or 3 would instantly and magically solve that sliding problem, you would do it. And if you wouldn't, what the hell excuse is there in the world to justify not doing it, if it's something that only takes 1 minute? Well, there's only 2 answers. Number 1, I didn't know, which is a perfectly legitimate answer. And number 2, it could turn out that if you did it, it still wouldn't look quite right. And so that's a wasted effort. So those are both legitimate potential happenstances that have to be taken into consideration. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're trying to build up a lexicon of techniques. The encouraging thing for me in this process is discovering that A, when I am determined and I am disciplined, A, I can draw these guys on character, and B, the way that I animate them seems to look about right. It seems to be consistent with what I'm seeing in the real show. Now, the real show has a lot of complexities added on top of that with the CGI and certain, various kinds of effects that do take time. And so I have a lot of expansion of my lexicon of techniques that is still in order. Every day, man, I'm just learning stuff. But so what I'm doing today is I'm taking a shot that was done probably 6 months ago, and I'm saying, okay, based on what I've been learning, what can I do that's going to literally take seconds in some cases that will take this up a level? And it didn't take seconds, it took minutes, but just those tweens and then getting the timing of them, I would say made a big difference. So this shot should be gone ahead and rendered and smacked into the show, and we keep moving forward. So, okay, I'm going to take half a second now and look at the comments. The rest are transformation edits. Yeah, to be clear, Amar, what I'm finding myself doing more and more, because look, it's like the argument between rigging versus frame-by-frame animation. To me, it's analogous to that argument. And I call it an argument because it's an argument I have with myself, where there's always this temptation to try to get leverage. There's always this temptation to take a couple extra steps that hopefully will make it so you can reuse stuff over and over and be able to move forward more quickly. Okay, so stick a pin in that idea for a moment and realize that what I'm learning is it turns out that doing it the hard way, just frame-by-frame animation, often is just as fast. Okay, so I've had to get to a certain level of discipline and practice to realize that I'm not actually saving myself that much time, really. It's going to take a while to really see what the difference is, but if aesthetically it's 20% better, then it's worth doing it the hard way anyway, right? So with that in mind, what I'm not doing is using the animate tool and putting in keyframe animation very much. Good morning, Chipanda. I'm not doing that very much. What I am doing, it is transformation animation, but what will happen is I'll say this drawing of Zoidberg looks pretty good, so then I'll select it. I got to be on the right. Let's just grab this one so I can be on the right frame. So what I'll do is I'll select it, I'll make a duplicate drawing, select it, transform it, and then erase parts of it and redraw. So it is transformation animation, but not in the sense of keyframe animation that the computer's doing the tweening or any of that. It's just a matter of using cutting and pasting to reuse elements. That, why am I going to draw it twice if it's already correct? And, so you understand what I'm saying. I don't have to belabor that. So here what we have to do is hit Control R. And this is 350, yes. So let's smack this into the show and see how it's looking. So it is good to be back to Salt and Light today. I definitely wanted to spend the weekend on Futurama and just get away from Salt and Light. And frankly, by the end of the day yesterday, I'm not joking, I looked at the computer and I was just like, ugh. I'm like, I have no desire to even think about doing any more animation. So I don't get to that point very often. I get a little fried where I have to take a break, but I don't get to the point where I've actually done so much work that I'm like, I just need to go hang out with people or, whatever. Okay, so let's see what we have back here. This should be... Now, it is interesting that this is... you can see this is time stretch. I assume it's probably smacked up to about 10 frames per second or something. 1.5, so this is actually playing at 12, as a matter of fact. And this is wrong. This is not the correct image sequence, so that's concerning. So let's look here and see what we have. These are pings. This is scene 350 render. It's a ping sequence. Did I make a mistake here? Start numbering at 0. It's 350 render. 305. I did a dyslexia moment there. Okay. I'm guilty of sin. I should have noticed that that Krita didn't warn me that there was a naming conflict, because usually it does, because I'm overwriting the earlier frames, obviously. Okay, so this should be correct. Gullet comes in. Yep, there the blink. You see the blink. Okay. One thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and stretch this out a little bit more. And then hit Control-Shift-F to ripple edit that. So 1.3, I feel like it's just a little bit too fast. Yeah, still. I actually think I'm going to just play this back at 1. And then stretch that out like that. Zuko's literally calling to Kyle. He's like, he says something to Kyle, and then he's like, and Kyle doesn't answer. And he's like, Kyle. That's pretty weird when you have a bird that thinks he's human. Okay. So, sorry about that. I got to make a couple little adjustments here. Yeah, that's looking better. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and loop this and take a short break. We'll just loop this scene. Q key, play that, and I will be back in just a few moments. And we are back. Okay, so work. Okay, so I'm going to take a second here and look at what's going on. Traditional animator prefer to see the full animation in a pencil test before. I am increasingly agreeing with you. Now, you might do it in sections, you know, fairly large sections, but like not necessarily a whole show. But yeah, I agree with you. In other words, there's a balance though, because on the one hand, the mindset for me would be that I want to look at the pencil test and there are no questions remaining. Okay, so the ink and paint theoretically is just mechanical, but that is to be balanced, of course, against what I've been also doing, which is trying to seamlessly sketch. It's what I did actually with Bender on that this shot back here. So it isn't necessarily the pencil test, although it can be. So there's a dance, and I suppose the dance has a little bit to do with how confident you are. So if I'm working on this, what I might be doing is sketching this and I go, well, that looks right. And so then I hit the 3 key and I just go ahead and boom, 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 put those lines in there. Just because for me, and then I can hit erase, selective, and then also clean this up a little bit. B key, and then I might do a fill check as well, and I can see that I have a hole right here. So things like that, where there is a little bit of an interactive, as I say, it's a bit of a dance between doing. But color is, for me, definitely a second or third step. But I do like being able to work this way. So the more confidence I am more confident I am in my drawing, and the more confident I am that as I develop my craft, and I'm very sure that the movement is going to be up to scratch, then I'll increasingly probably work this way. In this case, what I would certainly probably do, and I might do it one little piece at a time, as opposed to the whole drawing, and I did it with Zoidberg actually yesterday when I was working on the ink, testing some ink stuff, is then hit the S key, Control V, and I know this is just a transformation, right? So, there's kind of this ongoing process, and then I might hit Control C again, Control V, and so now I'm going to do a little bit of a translation there, but it is baked into the drawing. Control V, actually strike that. Here, yes, it didn't move, so it'd be stupid to yeah, actually it looks like on this frame his hand moved up a little bit. So then of course we have a little bit more ink we have to add at the bottom, but that's okay. So now what we do is we would go E key, 1 key, so that I can just selectively erase, and basically so I can see what I'm doing, really. Just clean it up a bit. You could do this, you could accomplish the same thing by just taking this color and just turning it down, turning the alpha down. You don't have to erase it. So if you wanted to, you could leave your pencil test in there forever. There's no reason it really actually has to be erased. And not only that, but obviously most people aren't going to put the pencil test and the ink on the same layer either, typically, I don't think. It depends on the program, It certainly depends on the program. So now if we play this back, right? So we're in good shape. And then I'll have to make a judgment call, because when we zoom in, is the scaling of the ink lines going to result in a change in thickness that's a little bit egregious? And it just depends. So what you might do, you might wind up saying, well, we'll go ahead and tween and just cut and paste to create this tween. But then when we get to the frame where it lands, go ahead and re-ink it. And it's all happening so fast that you'll never see that transition from the cut and pasted art to the re-inked version. So that gives you a little sense of kind of the way I'm working. And I'm not settled into a consistent workflow either, because the ink that I did on Farnsworth was done with vectors, right? So that's something I'm still feeling out, is if we use vectors, we obviously can cut and paste. Well, is cutting and pasting with vectors valuable compared to cutting and pasting pixel art? Only if there's more than about 30% scaling going on. If you're scaling things more than 20 or 30%, then all of a sudden vectors become a win. And then the argument you need to have with yourself is, well, yeah, but am I actually reusing that specific pose that often? And then how much time, if I'm good at drawing the characters, how much time am I wasting fishing through the archives trying to find that pose? As Mike Post said about doing the scoring of television shows, he said to him, the music is like an ocean. And if I write a piece of music and it doesn't work, I just throw it back in the ocean, right? I never go and try to find something from the archives that I can reuse, because it's faster to just rewrite it. So that's him. That's not everybody, obviously. And in the entire CGI space, obviously that runs counter to everything about how we do CGI these days. Is completely the opposite of that. Everything's about getting everything rigged, and so we've got the ability to take a single rig and just make it do anything we need it to do, and that's a wonderful, it can be a beautiful thing, right? So, anyway, that's it for 350. So we will, actually, I think I'm going to leave that open, and again, I keep saying, I'll look through here, saying back when you're doing the anime project, doing the frame-by-frame pencil test in their entirety will save you so much time. It can. If your standards are high and your knowledge is sufficient that you do in fact recognize the problems when they occur, then yeah. The idea is to do things in the correct order and do them to completion up to the standard that you're attaining to religiously, you know, without exception. As Maria and Tom have told me, we were using the first pancake analogy. This is our first pancake, so it won't be perfect. Well, yeah, of course, of course. Are we planning for the second one? It's typically how it's done for cartoon shows, at least a full shot before going to ink and paint. Well, if the Futurama animatics slash like animated storyboards are any indication, then absolutely, that is the way it's done. I know you like to see progress immediately. The pencil test allows you to work out issues in their entirety before you move them. It's committed emotionally will prevent less redoing of shots later. I think so. I think so. I mean, as I'm only just diving into Futurama, and already I feel like probably we're not going to have issues with redoing shots because they weren't up to quality. What we will have is getting it chopped together and then realizing that as an editor, there are things that I'll wind up chopping out to just kind of pack it down and, you know, pack as much entertainment value into a small space as possible. Because if the voiceover is 18 minutes, then the whole show is going to come out to probably at least 30, I bet. Which means there's some editing that has to be done if it's going to be a 24-minute episode, or whatever the length is of the episodes they did. Okay, so we're working here on... we just did this shot. This shot probably is fine. Yeah, she scowls. And I think, yeah, okay, let's do 257. All right. And again, this is probably just a matter of doing a little tweening. So I'm going to go 257. There it is. Oh, and that's the wrong shot. It's supposed to be 357. Sorry. Dave, you silly, silly goose. There we go. So the reason it's a static shot there is because Golik's talking. So that looks like, okay, yeah, so what's really kind of missing there, I would say, is, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually just insert a little change here. And why is nothing happening? Oh, apparently Krita had to think. Okay. Okay, so the question I'm asking myself is, does this little hint of movement kind of hide the tween? And it does, although I would say this tween is less than stellar. Mainly because of the positioning, not so much the shape, because she actually goes down and then comes back up, and I don't think, we're not really looking for a recoil here. Ignore the mouth. The mouth doesn't matter at this point. And if this doesn't work, it doesn't work. Her face is getting a little distended. But that's because I'm working very broadly just to find the positioning that I think is going to work. That's probably okay. Let's see. Okay, this... I can live with that. Not sure I'm loving that positioning. There we go. That feels a little better. Let's go to the mouth layer. Back here. And we probably should have a mouth. We probably should have him out. Zuko says, knock it off. That's his new phrase he likes to say. Okay, right there we've got a rogue mouth. A key. And I guess we'll liquefy it so we can keep it under control. Okay, save our work. All right. Oh, nothing new in the comments. Okay. All right, what's missing with Tianara is obviously control insert. The eye blinks. Why don't you have some eye blinks on this girl? Cast shadow. You need to turn that off or the colors will be wrong. G key, sample this. Let's just smack a little eye blink in there. Little blink. Little blink. I guess we'll get rid of that. Sample that. Go like this. And phew. I would say I'm going to actually put a second blink right there before she moves and see if that feels good. Okay, and Krita loops it, even though I didn't ask it to. Okay, yeah, so let's take this and move this back this away. Okay. Eye blinks. Theoretically, there'd be one here too, actually. Usually people blink before they move, so we'll just roll with it. If I decide I don't like it, then I'll just take the keyframe out. No big deal. I'll just erase the keyframe. There's a blink. And I feel like, boom, right there as well. So I'm going to go control insert right there. And we're going to smack another one in there. Just because it's my show, and if I want to smack another eye blink in there, I can do it. Right? Right. Alright. Rewind. Shift spacebar. Yeah. Golek. There he is. I'm going to have him do the same kind of thing. Control insert. We don't want to go too crazy with the eye blinks, but at the same time, why not? There's hardly any harm in letting people look like they're alive, right? And living people tend to blink. B key. So there. Save our work. And I guess we'll go back to the beginning and just kind of feel what's going on. Yep, I like that. And here, is his mouth baked into it? It is. So, a little risky behavior, but I'm going to go ahead and smack another blink in here. Just because blinks are probably the single most economical way you can bring a performance to life. Golic may do an occasional half-hooded blink, which is a deliberate expression of control over self and others. I'm not sure of what a half-hooded blink is. Sometimes you get these people in this show that'll do a double blink, you know, which is something you often see as a of a kind of you know, you can tell somebody's thinking kind of thing. Half-hooded blink. Never heard that term. Okay, so Tia, I'm just going to keep going on this track because it definitely elevates the scene just a little bit. And so, why the heck not? Boom, 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 doop, 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 doop. And of course, blinks are also economical because they go by so quickly that if there's little flaws like that right there in the shot, you don't notice them. They just happen too quickly. Nice. I think we're good. We need to turn the shadows back on and save our work. And this is shot 357. Control R. I will guarantee you this is wrong, and indeed it is, because this was not done in Krita 3.5. Uh-oh, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. What did I say this was? 357? Are we going to assume they're pings? They appear to be, so we'll see what happens. The lid lowers slowly over half the eye, then lifts. Oh yeah, I think of that more as a scowly kind of thing. Maybe I'll toy around with that here at some point. Okay, he approaches her. Okay, there's a little bit of an anatomy issue there I want to fix. Wow, it's amazing how much I'm getting a lot of mileage out of those eye blinks, I must say. Okay, so now we got Fala coming into the scene. This shot, 254. Let's pull up 254 and try to get rid of the stupid that's in it. 254. Sorry guys, I just did the same thing again. Why am I doing that? Let me look at this. Must be just because the screen's a little fuzzy for me. 354 is what we want, not 254. Don't be a silly goose. Okay, so right there. I would say I'm gonna flip this to, okay, that helps, so I don't take this too far. And then right here, oops, M key. Yes, I see that this whole bit needs to come down a little bit. I want him to look a little more relaxed in his body weight. So again, this kind of goes to show that you can do quite a bit with liquefy before the softening of the art starts to really be a problem. Okay, let's give that a shot. Yeah, it's just a little bit better anatomy. So, alright, Control R. This is 354. So as you guys can see, partly because I don't really have any choice, but partly by design, I'm trying to be as software agnostic as possible. That's why I was fiddling around with the interesting way in Blender to. Actually, Amar, I don't think you were around when I was showing this earlier. But the thing I did in Blender was that you may find interesting is sort of the same principle. Oops, I don't want the fill tool. Where you can sketch your character, and then if it's feeling good, you just press a little harder, and you get a nice ink line. And that's done basically by setting the strength curve like this, so it's real transparent until you push hard. And then the other element that kind of makes this a neat technique is the opacity modifier, which based on strength takes the semi-transparent strokes and gets rid of them. The problem with this technique is that those points are still there, so I need a grease pencil, either a script or a modifier that will actually completely delete any points that have a strength parameter that's below a certain level. If you did that, because if you don't have that, if they're still there, then you still don't get clean fills, and you would have to pre-render it. But since I know you use Blender, I thought you might find that a little bit interesting. Okay, back to the show. Back to the show. Yeah, I think episode 5, I tell you, it's gonna be going pretty quick. Most of it, there's little things like I'm doing here, but basically it's feeling pretty good. Now, Fala, there are some characterization issues with Fala that I wanted to address. Okay, we might as well keep doing what we're doing. 363. Could use a blink or two. Am I right? I feel the black silhouette would look better with more dark towards the foreground. Let me look at what you're talking about there. Okay. Yeah, that's something I don't think I want to necessarily address that right now, but I take your point. Whether that should be completely black is certainly debatable, for one thing. Some semblance, honestly, on a wide shot like this, having some semblance of something, like maybe over here, something that constitutes a bit of a foreground, and or in your case, you're saying the black silhouette would look better with more dark toward the foreground. So you're saying that back here, the vignette should be stronger. Oh, that's a worthy point. Let me take a look at that real quick. Why not? Let's take a look at that. Okay, so Tiny Salad, number one, I want to, before I go any further, I want to say that potentially, I guess that's not what I wanted to do. I really want to, oh, come on, Krita. I want to just lift this. Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, there's cases where silhouettes need to be something like that, but I'm going to say just a little bit lighter so it sits in the mix better, probably about like that. And, we're just playing here. I'm going to say all the reflected surfaces are basically brown, if you think about it. So I'm going to say just the slightest bit of red in his shadow would probably be good. Let's save that. And then, oh yes, I left this out. There is something in the foreground. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was stupid. Okay, and honestly, if you wanted to take this to the next level, here's what we should do. I'll tell you what we should do here. Let's hit the G key, and let's add another layer that's alpha locked. Okay, And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create. I'm going to go ahead and play with this. Two things I'm going to do. Number one, I'm going to put. Yeah, this will definitely make the shot look a little nicer. So I'm going to just go ahead and put these guys in here first. Okay, this is the advantage of working in layers. Now I can take this layer, oops, and really lower this down like that. So we get a tone that's a little hotter than Golek. And as I'm looking at this, okay, that was stupid. I'm going to have to do a change on Golek because I obviously made a strategic error here by not doing the I didn't do a filter mask. Okay, but let me finish with this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add another layer and do the same thing again, but this time it's going to be a little offset from the left edge. Thanks for mentioning that, Tiny Salad. It's always fun when you guys come up with something clever. Let's blur the darn thing. Why not? Filter, blur, 10 pixels. Yeah, sounds good. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll ease that in. And that's way too strong. And we don't want it to look too authentic. Okay, I'm not sure I'm actually buying this. Like maybe I made a mistake by making the... that kind of fixes it. Okay. All right, so Golek. Here's what we need to do with Golek. Let's put Golek in a Control G. Put him in a group. And let's just add another layer above him. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do on this layer is I'm just going to solo it and fill it with white. You say, what the heck are you doing there, Dave? Well, now I'm going to alpha lock that layer. So instead of trying to do something with effects, I'm going to just do it with a layer, which tends to be more performant for one thing. And so let me just look at this. How does this feel? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to raise this up just a little bit to maybe that color. So that this can become, so now the question for me is, should it get lighter or should it get darker? And the answer is, I'm not really sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a keyframe here. I'm going to put a keyframe here. Now that's an opacity keyframe. I'm not using a transform mask or anything. So what that's going to do is it's just going to animate the opacity of this layer. So right here, as you can see, when I change the opacity, it changes there. So my question is, should it actually get lighter or should it actually get darker? And the answer is, I don't know. Let's try it both ways. Let's try it both ways, friends. High contrast, slightly less. I think it should be the opposite. I actually think it should be the opposite. I think this tint should be fairly muted, but let's just get him to dance into the mix. Okay. But then let's go back here, turn it completely off. Yes, I like that better. I like that better, friends. Okay, and then you said stronger vignette, so I'm gonna kind of go with you on that. So what I'm gonna do is put in an extra layer up top, and we're just gonna do this the old school way, which is we're gonna take an airbrush, black. We're gonna make this thing huge. Kind of do something like that, and then you know, no question about it, Tiny Salad, compositionally that is definitely stronger. Okay, compositionally you are never going to go very far wrong by judiciously using a vignette. Now clearly the vignette should be below here so that it is not, well, actually strike that. I think it should, maybe it should be above. It's not quite interacting with, let me see if we do overlay. Yeah, that doesn't really help. Normal, something's wrong. That should be actually overlay. Nothing with the, well, that worked. That's interesting. That's definitely interesting. Mutes the colors. Okay, that's definitely interesting. What if we invert this? Now you got me. Now you got me wondering. I guess we'll do it this way. Let's take that color and lift it. That doesn't make any difference. So I'll do, okay, so I've never used the color blending mode, so I didn't know exactly what it can be expected to do. But I would say, let's go with overlay at about something like that. Okay? Now, did I make a mistake by blurring these lines? Am I breaking the show a bit by blurring these lines? I think I am. I think I'm going to retreat from that decision. Go back to our pencil. And can we just draw over this and tighten up at least that one edge? I think that feels a little better, a little bit more cartoony. Control R. Let's pop it in the show, shall we? Let's. Okay. Let's jump over here. Yeah, so thanks for the tip there. Tiny salad. So here we've got. Okay, so now that shot does not have the highlights on the bars. And if you were really technical about it, I'm going to tell you, we really do not see in the wide shot, I'm embarrassed to admit, where those bars are. Those bars would not be seemingly on the door. The bars that we're looking through would actually be that window. So technically it does work. It's a bit of a stretch, but yeah. Geez, for me to introduce strange inconsistencies into my show, that's be pretty unusual, huh? We'll go with that. No, I like what I'm seeing generally, though. The show's feeling pretty good. I think on that one silhouette, we are not dark enough. So let's go to 349. Actually, let's fix 349 because that needs some highlights on the bars. And then here, there, that shadow I think needs to be darker. So 351, boom, 351 is a ping. Okay, that's disturbing. Unless, actually, did I put the minus in there? Minus 351. Is 351 a Tahoma? Seriously, dude? Could it be? Let's find out. Salt and light. Scenes. Now we're going to scroll down and try and find 351. We're in the 400. Yep, there it is. There's 375. 379. I better check my show here. It's 351. Don't tell me this is another orphaned. There's 350. Oh, that is strange. $351. We don't have. This is a bit. Oh well, wait a minute. Let me see what this drawing is. Let's go. Like, okay, so I guess because I don't want to like bore the entire world, I'm gonna ignore that for the moment. This group, however, I'm gonna copy to the clipboard. Let's just kind of work back here in reverse a bit. Right here. So this is supposed to be 349. 349. Boom, 349. There it is. All right, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go paste layer. Gee guys, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? So this does not need to be in there anymore since we just replaced it with the group. And we save this, and this is supposed to be rendered as 349, which of course, because it wasn't done in Krita, whatever version it is, 3.5, 349. Dot. Complain? Oh, it's not complaining. Cancel. Okay, let's look back here. 349. This might be a JPEG sequence. That would. Now it's a ping sequence. Scenes 349 render. Control R. What did I miss? Scenes 349 render. Ah! Well, wait. That's a 9. Have I got 2 periods in there? Yep, I sure did. How stupid of me. Okay. Now, I did not do the silhouette, the vignette. Probably should. Yeah. Copy layer. Paste layer. Just for completeness, we'll call this Vig for vignette. Save that. Render that into the show. Okay. The bars should probably be similar brightness as his silhouette while he's close to them. Yeah. Hanging similar brightness as his silhouette while he's close to them. Well, let's take a look at that. That would mean, really, that that's what you're going for. You know, I tell you, the truth is, I could go either way. What if we take this out? I definitely don't like that. I think maybe my mistake here is actually even having that second layer in there at all. Oh, no. Oh, no. This is one of those things you can sit and agonize over all day. So rather than agonize over it right now, I'm going to just re-render and move forward and look at it after I've got fresh eyes on it. Maybe later in the day or whatever. Okay. So this, similar situation. I was toying around with maybe making that slightly lighter. But basically, we're going to rock and roll. Rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll. And I think I'm probably going to quit, actually, because I am starting to like mentally fuzz out a bit. I'm usually good for about 2 hours, and then I need to take a break. So save that. We've got a lot of shots fixed up, though, I must say. Okay, we're going to work on that one next. The problem we had was, of course, the shot where Goluk approaches her and she gets covered with his shadow. So this shot seems to be missing or something. It could be that I did this in Tahoma by taking a static drawing and then just animating probably a vector level over top of it or something. So I'll go find that offline and not like waste everyone's time. So I would say with that, I'm probably ready for a break. Thanks for the input, Tiny Salad, though. I appreciate that. And so if there are no questions from the class, I will go ahead and sign off. And who knows, I might be back on later today, or I may just work offline, and who knows what I'll do. Maybe I'll create a speed paint like I did, was it yesterday? The first part of the Futurama thing I was working on, I just created a speed paint of it and let that play in the first part of the live stream. So anyway, with that, I think I will, hey Max, check out, and thanks for hanging out, guys. And as you know, there absolutely will be